Today's edition of Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty is sponsored by Window and Bath Depot. Visit their showroom in Westlake and discover the Depot difference. Window and Bath Depot, Cleveland's highest rated remodeling company. Isn't the love in the air? Happy Valentine's Day. It's a great day to love and talk sports, but also spend it with your significant other or family, whatever you choose to do. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. It's Andrew Hoty. This is Raw Takes. And before we get going to the show and some of the hot topics, let's discuss that Raw Takes and You contest. We so far have 2 entries. You saw both of those entries on the last edition of the show. You can also check them out on our social media page on Instagram and Facebook at Hoty Raw Takes and Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. And go give them a like, give them your support. Kenny and Will are fighting right now for a $50 NFL gift card. We have some other entries that are coming in soon. You could enter until March 4th, but right now the leaderboard is Kenny Miller has 6 likes across Facebook and Instagram, and Will A has 6 likes as well. So we have a tie right now. So we need some tiebreakers. Whoever gets the most likes gets that chance to debate me and win a $50 NFL gift card. So thank you to Kenny and Will for participating. Please submit your entries to the Raw Takes and You giveaway. You could win an NFL gift card, an NFL Team Shop gift card worth $50 if you do so. All you got to do is use the hashtag HotyRawContest or reach out to me directly with your video and we'll post it on our social media platforms. And we'll get as many likes as possible for you. Whoever gets the most likes wins that $50 NFL Team Shop gift card. It's Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. Let's get to the news. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and all the social media links to the show are in the description below. Let's get things started with the NBA going on the All-Star break. In terms of my Cleveland Cavaliers, we have 3 All-Stars, I believe the most of any team. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell will be in the skills competition. Darius Garland in the three-point contest. I'm more excited about those kind of events than I am the actual All-Star game. To me, the All-Star game doesn't really do much. I only care about who makes the All-Star game. I don't really care about All-Star weekend as a whole. So I don't really want to give too much more thoughts on the All-Star game other than that. I just hope that, everybody just has fun out there, really. And that's what it's all about in the NBA to begin with on All-Star weekend. And, the score is probably going to be like 175 to 171 with no defense played, like typically it always is. It just takes the fun out of it for me. The All-Star game is the best in Major League Baseball, and I stand by that. But having said that, though, it's going to be a great weekend, and obviously Trae Young moving up to the All-Star game, Kyrie Irving moving up to the All-Star game, and we'll talk about the Dallas Mavericks here in just a second. So there's some great additions that have been made. I know Giannis is dealing with an injury, which may hurt the Milwaukee Bucks' chances this season with Indiana on their tail. Just want to say that. But, there's a lot to go on with the NBA All-Star Weekend, and I want to congratulate Kenny Atkinson, too, on being an All-Star coach. But having said that, though, the All-Star game really doesn't do much for me. I only care about really who the players are that make it as opposed to, the actual event itself. But I do like the dunk contest. I know a lot of people think it's getting stupid. I still think the dunk contest is fun. And I also really like the three-point contest still. There's still a lot of fun during the three-point contest, and it's just fun to watch. A lot of players that necessarily aren't all-stars go out there and compete as well. A lot of them are all-stars, of course, too, but that's a big thing, too. And I don't really care about the celebrity game. I think it's kind of fun to watch, some of the celebrities play basketball, but to me, it really doesn't do much. I know a lot of people do care about that for some reason, in the bigger circles, but I also think there's a lot of people that don't even really care about the celebrity game. But I know that always takes place on All-Star Weekend, and the NBA tries to have fun with that. But, I think it really depends on if you like or dislike a certain celebrity. And, celebrities, they all have approval ratings outside of Dolly Parton and maybe, Larry Fitzgerald and, a few others. I know I threw Larry Fitzgerald in for the athletes because everybody loves Larry Fitzgerald. But Dolly Parton, Larry Fitzgerald, there's a very short list of athletes that have an 100% approval rating. Joe Thomas, at least here in Cleveland, has a 100% approval rating, too. So I got that from a friend of mine. So, yeah, I absolutely think that's one thing to keep in mind about the celebrity game. Is you got to really like the celebrities, I think, in order to really enjoy it. And either way, it's not like it's a pro game. It's just celebrities playing basketball. So that's my thoughts on All-Star Weekend. Much deserved rest, I think, for all 30 teams, though. There was some decent games, though, to wrap up the stretch here the last couple days. The Cavaliers getting a big win over the Toronto Raptors. A blowout win, wasn't even close. Although the story behind that was Tristan Thompson getting that late dunk. I mean, that was interesting. I don't know why he did that. I personally don't care that he did that because the Cavs were up by so much. But that kind of didn't need to happen at the end, and then a scuffle took place, and the game was already over. I know that probably hurt some people maybe in terms of their bets, but in terms of everything else, I don't think that really that was that big of a deal. I think Tristan Thompson, he's always kind of had a wild personality. I still personally like Tristan Thompson, but at the end of the day, that was kind of stupid and a boneheaded decision, so I'm going to kind of ridicule that from Tristan Thompson's perspective. But to me, it didn't really mean much of anything because the Toronto Raptors, it's not like they're going anywhere. If he did that like against the Boston Celtics and we were up against the Boston Celtics, I think the Cavs may pay for that in the postseason. But no, I think that was a boneheaded decision, but does it concern me at all? Not really. And even Kenny Atkinson mentioned after the game that it was not a good decision, but he didn't seem overly concerned about that situation. Before we move off the Cavs, though, I want to talk a little bit about the job Kobe Altman has done now that DeAndre Hunter is getting some serious minutes. Kobe Altman might be one of the top GMs in the NBA right now. He just needs the championship to prove it. Everyone was out on the core four. Everyone was doubting the core four going into the offseason last year. The pieces weren't working right. J.B. Bickerstaff was so defensive-minded. Probably that's the reason why the core four didn't work right. But Kobe Altman stuck to his guns with the core four, said, we're going to roll with this again. And Kenny Atkinson, an offensive-minded coach, is going to try to figure this out here because Kenny Atkinson sees something about these core four guys that J.B. Bickerstaff didn't tap into. So he believed in Kenny Atkinson. He went out, and this time around, a little bit different. The Cavs stayed pat at the trade deadline the last few years. This year, they went out, got aggressive, traded George Niang and Karis LeVert over to the Hawks to get DeAndre Hunter, who is a nice wing piece to add to the rotation. So I give Kobe Altman all the props in the world for making some great moves as the Cavaliers now. They're still dominating the NBA at one of the top teams. I believe Oklahoma City with their loss to Minnesota last night. They're both 10-loss teams now. So right now, those are the two teams on top. You never know how the regular season pans out. But the Cavs, they're in the mix competing for a title. And the Boston Celtics are the only team right now in the East that really, really scare me as a threat to the Cavs. But I think that's going to be seen in the postseason. There's still one more regular season matchup with Boston. In Boston, I think it's crucial the Cavs come back around and try to get that win in TD Garden in a few weeks. All right. Let's move on to the Dallas Mavericks because they've been getting a lot of headlines now. A fan was ejected the other day for the FIRE NICO chant, I believe, a FIRE NICO chant because of what Nico Harrison's been doing with the Luka Doncic trade and all that stuff. I mean, personally for me, when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks, I get it. The fans are upset about the Luka trade, and, I think it's stupid that you eject a fan for saying FIRE NICO. I don't know if there was some sort of aggression or inappropriate gesture that was used, but still, I think that's a little ridiculous to eject a fan over a FIRE NICO chant, if that's essentially what it is, because it possibly is one of the most boneheaded decisions an executive has made in the middle of a season ever if the Dallas Mavericks end up not panning out. So far, the Dallas Mavericks have been winning, even despite Anthony Davis's injury since he got there, and some of the other guys, the bigs in particular, they have banged up right now. The Dallas Mavericks have continued to win, so credit to them. I think they're 30-26 going into the All-Star break. But, they obviously would be winning a lot more probably if Luka Doncic was still in the lineup. So, to me, it's still a boneheaded decision because I don't think the Dallas Mavericks are going to be any better for this trade. But having said that, they're still winning right now. So, Nico Harrison, to me, his job is safe because they're still winning. But if I'm the Dallas Mavericks fans right now, I'm still pissed at that guy because he probably had a better chance to win even more with Luka Doncic under center. I still don't think the Mavs will be going anywhere, even if Luka Doncic was in this lineup. But still, I think it's stupid that trade was even considered from the Dallas perspective because you just went to a finals with him last year. So I'm not against the fan if he was just chanting FIRE NICO. He shouldn't have been ejected. A lot of this protest stuff that's going on with the Mavericks, that they're against all this protesting of Nico Harrison and all that. Listen, the guy made a possible boneheaded move. I guess time will tell if he was right. But as of right now, it looks like a boneheaded move. And as a fan, your job is to criticize when things aren't going right with a team. I'm a Browns fan, for crying out loud. You know how many times I have to criticize my hometown football team? All the time. And I do it with the Cavs when they make boneheaded decisions. I do it with the Guardians when they make stupid decisions. Fans have the right to criticize. It's part of your First Amendment right, too. You have the right to criticize your team, your organization, in your city if they make stupid decisions. I'm very advocate I'm a big advocate against the Dome Project idea in Cleveland. And I continue to say that, especially because the Browns aren't putting good product on the field right now. So I'm continuing to advocate against the Dome, and I am critical of the Browns organization for that, and I'm going to continue to be so. It doesn't mean the Browns aren't my team and I'm not going to support them thick and thin. But having said that, that's just my opinions. I think the Dome idea is dumb. I'd rather have the Lakefront Stadium with renovations. That's just me. And taxpayer money and all that crap. That's just where I stand with it. So I want to be critical with my team over that. I think if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you should have absolutely every right to be upset with Nico Harrison right now. You traded away your best player. He was your best player. And maybe down the line, Nico Harrison's right. All the Dallas Mavericks have done since they traded Luka Doncic is win. They got blown out by the Cavs that one game, but they've been winning essentially ever since. So I'm not going to criticize the move all the way yet if the Mavs continue to win like this. But having said that, it still doesn't look like a good move down the line and for the future because the Los Angeles Lakers possibly just built up on their future, and who knows what the Dallas Mavericks are doing. But down the line, it might not pan out. But as a fan, you have the right to criticize your team. You have the right to boo your team. Like, I'll say this. I thought it was stupid when Deshaun Watson, when he got hurt, that fans booed that. It wasn't right. It was not right at all. Fans have the right to criticize. I think they draw a line there that was a little bit too much. But still, fans were upset with Deshaun Watson prior to that. So even though I think they drew the line when it came to his injury, before that, Deshaun Watson was getting tons of boos. And I think they were warranted because Deshaun Watson wasn't playing well on the field. So I'm just comparing it to that Cleveland Browns situation. It's two different sports. And as I said, you don't boo when someone gets hurt at all. That's just not ethical. So having said that, though, that's just my point. You have the right to criticize your team when they make boneheaded decisions, when they make dumb decisions. I was very critical of the Guardians when they traded Josh Naylor. I mean, and you know, the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka because he was a little out of shape. I think in Dallas's, argument that could be a little bit of a concern. The Guardians might have done that with Josh Naylor. That could have been a factor because his health was getting kind of concerning in terms of his weight and whatnot the last couple seasons in Cleveland. So maybe that's why the Guardians made that move. I don't know. I'm comparing it to a bunch of different sports. But as a fan, you have the right to criticize a team when you think they made a boneheaded decision. Because at the end of the day, you're paying your hard-earned money to go to their games, root for that team, watch that team on television. If you're a season ticket holder especially, you're paying good money to watch an entertainment product. And that's what these organizations are supposed to do. They're supposed to put a good, entertaining product on the field. They don't always do, the Browns being one of them, the Wizards right now in the NBA being another, the Utah Jazz, they're not doing a good job, so they're another organization that's not putting good product on the court right now, I should say. So you're going to these teams to get good product out of them. You're buying your money, you're investing your time to watch. So for me, I think it's a little bit of an over-boundary if you can't criticize Nico Harrison for what looks like, as of right now, a boneheaded trade. But if the Mavericks keep winning like this, despite all the injuries and Anthony Davis being out, along with all their bigs for an extended period of time, they keep winning, then Nico Harrison may look like a genius in the end. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Criticize your team. Do it to the extent of where it's right to criticize your team. Don't go overboard. Don't make boneheaded decisions yourself. As a fan, you should have the right to criticize your team, where they're wrong and where you think they're wrong, and go from there. You should boo at games when things aren't going the way you think they should. Doesn't mean you should boo when a guy gets injured. As I said, you should not do that. But if you want to boo your executive because you think he made an idiot decision, then go ahead and boo him. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's freedom of speech. So, boo away. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, I think you should be pissed down the line that this Luka Doncic thing does backfire. All right, let's continue things on here. We have opening day of baseball coming up not too long. I know with the Guardians in particular, catchers and pitchers reported to Goodyear yesterday for spring training coming up next week. They're going to take on the Cincinnati Reds over the weekend next weekend, and spring training's almost here. Hard to believe that it's already coming by this quickly already as we head closer and closer to the regular season. Not going to touch too much on baseball as of right now, but I will say, though, I'm excited for this season just because the Guardians do have a really good foundation to build upon. The moves they have made this offseason, re-signing Austin Hedges and trading away Andres Jimenez and Josh Naylor, don't look like that this team got any better as of right now, but the Guardians always figure out something. And, someone may be coming up from the minor leagues that we don't know about yet that's going to make a really big impact in Chris Antonetti's eyes. Maybe Kyle Manzardo, for example, is going to take that next step and be a guy who could be a power hitter. He showed it towards the playoffs last year that he could be a guy that could possibly hit consistently. You still have Stephen Kwan as your starting your starting opening guy in the lineup. So, he's been very, very productive, and he was an all-star last year. Probably will be again this year if he continues the way he's been hitting. He did get into a little bit of a slump, but still, Stephen Kwan, we know how often and well he makes contact. Jose Ramirez is still in the lineup. You can't forget about that. Stephen Vogt did a tremendous job last year. Is he going to come back out and do so? Yeah, it's possible, and I think he will. And right at spring training, you have Terry Francona going up against Stephen Vogt. I think that's going to be interesting in terms of if you want to tune into a spring training game. Obviously, the result means nothing. I'm not too big on spring training. I don't watch much of it. But to me, I'm kind of intrigued just to see Terry Francona and Stephen Vogt go head-to-head against each other with their ball clubs. But for now, Austin Hedges, Tanner Bybee, some of the pitchers and catchers, they did speak yesterday. And there is some low projections for the Guardians in particular, but I still think you got to let this spring training session play out. And the Guardians always find a way as an organization. They always find a way to be somewhat competitive. They're kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers of Major League Baseball. But I don't want to go that far because they still don't have the hardware to prove it under Chris Antonetti yet. But they could eventually. If they do end up winning a World Series, I will be able to stamp that down that they really are the Pittsburgh Steelers of baseball. But for now, that's just the current situation with them. But opening day coming up, not opening day in terms of the spring training opening day. Spring training, first game next Saturday. And pitchers and catchers finally reporting. It's going to be exciting to see everybody back out in Goodyear, getting ready for a nice Major League Baseball season, hopefully. So we'll see how that all goes. Baseball season's right around the corner, and here on Raw Takes, we'll be covering it as well. We're going to have a big opening day discussion about all 30 teams with a few friends of mine coming on the show to discuss. We'll talk the Yankees and Dodgers even though a lot of us in small markets get pissed at those two teams. We'll talk the Yankees and Dodgers. We'll talk what's going on with crap teams like the Colorado Rockies. We'll talk about if the Arizona Diamondbacks can continue to be a fighting force now that they have Josh Naylor. We'll go into all of that in the nitty-gritty baseball talk this upcoming March before opening day. All right, let's wrap things up here a little bit with one more thing before we go. Another big story to me, in my opinion, this week, obviously a lot of Ohio State stuff in the news now that Jim Tressel's the lieutenant governor of Ohio. But also, how about a new Ohio State defensive coordinator? I'm not so sure how to feel about this one, but the college ranking is much different than the NFL ranking. Matt Patricia's the new defensive coordinator of the Ohio State Buckeyes. I've never really been a big fan of Matt Patricia. I think he knows a lot of the X's and O's in terms of football from spending a lot of time with Bill Belichick, but other than that, he's not Belichick. I think he tried to be Belichick when he was with the Detroit Lions, and it failed miserably, and now you look at the Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell and how spectacular they've been. I mean, Dan Campbell in one season already has more wins than Matt Patricia his entire tenure. In one season as a Detroit Lions coach. That's how bad Matt Patricia was. So, Matt Patricia was not a great head coach, and it did not look like he was a great defensive coordinator in later years. He did not help the New England Patriots in that Super Bowl against Philadelphia. He did not help the Philadelphia Eagles last year when they absolutely collapsed. Before they came and won the Super Bowl this year, but last year with Jalen Hurts, they were 10-1, and then that defensive secondary was possibly the worst we've ever seen, and Baker Mayfield in the postseason with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely torched the Philadelphia Eagles in the playoffs. So, for me, I think that hiring Matt Patricia to be the defensive coordinator at college level, it's probably a refresher for him to get that DC job and be a defensive coordinator just to kind of, at the college level, to just kind of refresh his brain. But because of his history in the NFL, I'm not so sure how that's going to pan out in college because it seems like he had a great tendency to make secondaries worse in particular and make defensive play really bad because that was the problem in Detroit all those years was the defense. That was the problem in that New England Super Bowl was the defense. That was the problem with the Philadelphia Eagles. It was the defense. But now, as I said, the college level is completely different than the NFL level. For Matt Patricia, this is a step in the right direction to kind of revive your career a little bit because your reputation is pretty much in the gutter right now. So if Matt Patricia could turn around this Ohio State defense at the college level, I think Matt Patricia we could see possibly work his way up the ranks again, at least at the college level. I think that's probably a good starting point for him. But I also have this theory. Matt Patricia could be helping Michigan finally win games because he didn't do so in Detroit. he hurt Michigan's chances of winning games. And I mean like Michigan football teams. The Detroit Lions were significantly hurt. Maybe it'll help Michigan win some more games again as a defensive coordinator of the Buckeyes. That's it for today's edition of Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. Like, comment, subscribe, check out some of the other editions of the show. You can do so on our channel. And make sure to check out the Raw Takes and You contest if you want to win a $50 NFL Team Shop card. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Take it easy, and we'll be back this weekend for Short Take Weekend and way more after All-Star break. Next week, we will be talking about the All-Star game, the kickstart back of the NBA season, and so much more on Raw Takes with Andrew Hoty. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody, and we'll see you on Raw Takes later on. Take it easy.